I think one of the things that I have kind of deep thoughts about, and this is where like whenever someone says like be more strategic, I'm like, on what? Exactly. Like, how do you define X? Like, tell me more. But I think about it from like a contingency play almost. So when I am having kind of those walkthrough with hiring managers on like all of the different steps, I'm not a negative person, but I'm like, where can it go wrong? Like, where is it going to potentially mess up or maybe like divert, or where could the candidate get lost potentially in this? So I want to make sure that when we're even thinking about our process overall, that we're keeping it as honestly as tight as possible, because we want to make sure that we have that candidate's attention, and we're also making sure that we are getting back to them quickly, because internally we move very quickly. And so we want our recruiting process to actually mirror that way that we behave internally too. Bigger companies and other companies that maybe have, longer thought processes or have, more red tape, maybe you want to go ahead and have that foreshadowed in your interview process as well. But I think that's honestly where a lot of startups who want to move fast and break things really fail, with like 3 to 7 interviews. Or I had one company that wanted to do bring the candidate in for a whole day, and then like there's there's like 5 interviews before that one day. And I had to educate the hiring managers on, when the candidate is probably going to drop off at this point, because we're also letting the candidate know up ahead of like, hey, here's all the stats. And then having them to understand like a lot of candidates are working. And obviously this is a very different market when I was communicating this previously, but it's still one of those things where the candidate is still very valuable, and we want to make sure that we're not taking advantage of them. So going back to the strategic side of it, I like to pull in the data to let hiring managers know what might happen and when, and also kind of what historically has happened to us. But then I also want them to not think about just this one experience we're having, but what is going to happen into kind of the rest of the team and to the rest of the company. And then also thinking about, again, going back to our brand. Like, that's when you're playing chess and not checkers at that point. When you realize this one person who had a bad experience with a company would affect members of the current team, because they might see the Glassdoor review. But then not only that, but then after that, that affects our top of the funnel, because no one's going to, want to apply to a company that has bad reviews. And then that's also potentially going to affect our corporate brand. So roofers might not want to use us if our reputation is garbage.